Hello Aquarius, welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. My name is Paul. If Aquarius is your sun, moon, or rising sign, this is your tarot card reading. Remember to hit the like button, leave a comment, consider subscribing to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. If there's anything you would like me to pray over, or meditate upon, or send positive energy toward, please let me know. Now, this is going to be a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I might provide. And remember, Aquarius, that the most important part of any tarot reading is you. And we start with the Fool. Love it. It doesn't happen often, but it does sometimes, you know. You're somebody, I think, really, I don't know, I think you're making this up as you go, you know. I think that we're just trying to find the novelty in every moment. I think you're somebody who does not want any day to repeat itself. You don't want to be the Bill Murray Groundhog's Day, you know. Let me know down below if you've seen that movie. Great movie. Love Bill Murray. Where the Buffalo Roam, another excellent movie. You ever have that feeling that today was just like yesterday? That literally the same thing happened. You woke up at the same time, you got dressed the same way, you had the same thing for breakfast, you went to work, or you went to school, or you started doing your chores around the house, and everything seems to have happened exactly the same way. But see, the Fool knows that every moment is a brand new moment, that every day is a brand new day, that time does not repeat itself. It may feel like it does, and to our perception, we humans, we see patterns, right? We very easily can get into a habit, a pattern, and we can see the repetition of things. I mean, that's what we do. Our mind seeks out familiar patterns, to make sense of the world. The Fool is the opposite way. The Fool understands that every single moment is a novel moment. This moment right now here has never happened before. Sure, you've seen my videos before, most likely, but this exact moment has never occurred in the history of the universe. Every single second, every millisecond, every instant, every eternal moment is infinite, is the most important moment in the history of the universe, right? And this is really something that the Fool's not really aware of it, but the Fool is in that energy, okay? And so I think you're sort of in that energy, where you're looking for the novelty in every moment. Let's say you're in the same day, right? Exact same kind of routine as yesterday. Instead of focusing on all the ways in which it is similar, focus on those ways that are different. Try to find, like if you read those, remember those highlight magazines when you were a kid? The highlights, I think it was called. It would show you two pictures. It would say, find the difference between these pictures. They look the same. I don't know. It's the same picture, right? You gotta open yourself up, and you gotta find those ways in which each day is different. Because you're at the bleeding edge of the universe here. We all are, as a consciousness, We're at the forefront. We're cutting our way through the jungle every single moment. Okay? So the idea here is that we're focusing on those ways in which today is unlike any day that has ever existed. What are those little differences? What are those little novel moments? What are the ways in which today has never happened before? What is happening today that has never happened before? How is today different than yesterday? That's sort of the Fool energy, but not just the Fool, because again, the Fool is unaware of a lot of this. The Fool just sort of does it, but doesn't really have the self-reflection, Well, there we go. That's what the Fool needs. A little bit of a container, right? The Fool now being a little bit of a box. We've got the Four of Swords. Let's keep going. Let's see what else is coming out today. And we'll get back to all of these cards. We have a Nine of Wands underneath the surface. We've got some more fire energy with a Queen of Wands, 3 of Pentacles, and 5 of Cups. Yes, anytime we get a 4, we need a 5. Anytime we get a 5, we sort of need another 4. We've got the Queen of Pentacles. Ooh, do we have another 5? We have the Emperor. Well, that's a 4, right? It's the 4th mystery of the tarot. And there is that bleeding edge of the universe, right? The Death card itself. Every moment is that infinite moment. And I think this really does confirm everything, that we are literally, making this up as we go. And we are at the bleeding edge, we're cutting our way through the jungle of time and space, right? Of existence, of consciousness. And so what does this all mean in a very practical way for you? Well, I think, first of all, with that Fool energy, it means that we're appreciating every day for being a novel day, being a day that has never happened before. Okay? And I think that having this shift in your perspective is causing a lot of changes in the way you feel about things, but also in your physical environment. Okay? Let's select the mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. This is a random card from the Smith-Waite Tarot. This is the factor infinite and unknown. We're going to set it down over here and put our very own Kelly Kapoor right on top. Shout out to Mindy. We're not going to look at that card until the end, but it will tie everything together. And I would like for you, at any point during the reading, if you have a hunch or a prediction about that card, I want you to put it in the comments. Let's exercise our intuition, okay? And maybe you've tried this before and you never really get it right, or maybe you always get it right. Today's a new day, all right? Today is a new reading. So let's do it. It's a great way to exercise our intuition. Now, let's look around the room. We've got some good major arcana energy. We've got the Fool. We've got the Emperor. And we've got Death. Now, the Fool and the Emperor could not be more different. Okay? The Fool is someone who is not thinking of the future, not thinking of the past, not thinking of anything except for right now, and not even thinking about that, just experiencing it, just perceiving it, letting the energy of the moment flow through it. It's a big fat 0, right? It's in one ear and out the other with the Fool. Nothing sticks, The Emperor, on the other hand, is the one who's looking for the order, the structure of society, the rules and laws and the predictability and the cause and effect and the consequences and all that very serious stuff, right? And of course, the Death card, I think, is sort of the combination of the two in a way. Yeah. So anyway, we've got then some fire energy. We have fire over here and over here. We've got some water energy here. We've got some air energy right there. And of course, we have our earth energy. So it's fairly balanced reading. Okay, it's fairly balanced. Not a lot of water. Okay, not a lot of water, because the water that we are experiencing, the emotional state of things, I think has been maybe a little bit flat, a little bit level. If every day is the same day, every day is routine, we kind of get that Groundhog's Day feeling where it's just, it's the same old thing. Not bad, it's not good. It's just the same, right? And if something is the same long enough, it's neither bad nor good. It just is. It's familiar, it's routine. We really start to lose any sort of emotional connection with life at all, because things are always the same. It's always the same thing. You go to work day in and day out. It's the same kind of routine. And nothing really to complain about, but there's nothing going on either. Well, we've got the 5 of Cups in the future position. So I feel like this is it. This is something changing. This is us realizing that life is full of wonder and novelty and magic and beauty and suspense and, a lot of new, a lot of peak experiences, a lot of change, a lot of change. But let's talk about what the 4 of Swords is. The 4 of Swords, I said, was a little bit of that air energy that the Fool needs, because it's a little bit of reflection. It's the Fool realizing that, every moment is different, and that even if today feels just like yesterday, it's absolutely not. This day has never happened before. But we've got to be able to put things in perspective. We've got to be able to understand the routines and patterns so that we know how to appreciate the novelty of things, so that we can see outside the box. We have to be able to know the box, right? So the Four of Swords sometimes is us getting into a routine, a habit of thinking more than really a habit of behavior. It's not like the routine of, you tie your shoes a certain way. Everybody ties their shoelaces differently, But we get into the habit, and that's the way we tie our shoes. Yes, this is different. This is more subtle than that because it's air energy. It's the way we have these habits of thought. That our mind will construct the reality that we're sort of most familiar with, and our reality gets reinforced with every waking moment. Our mind sees more continuity. And you've seen these sort of optical illusions or whatever on YouTube or something. There's a lot of videos like that where your mind will perceive something, right? And it looks normal. Yep, that's the way it's supposed to be. But then they kind of show you what it actually is, and it's just like it's like a circle that's not it's like broken up into little pieces. It's not a circle. But when you first look at it, your mind sees the whole circle, right? There's a lot of those kinds of optical illusions. Let me know in the comments what your favorites are. I'm always looking for more of those things because I like to get outside of the box. I like to have something revealed to me. You know what I mean? I like to perceive the circle and then have somebody show me, no, you know what? This is what you were really looking at. Or like those word things where it says, if you can read this, then you have really good eyesight. But then really, they slow it down, they show it to you again, and you realize that the letters were all transposed or the words were out of order. But we read it just like normal, That's because of the predictability, because of the kind of the reinforcing, the reinforcement of reality, the finding of patterns and coherence and structure and familiarity. I was going to say meaning, but the finding of meaning is sort of a relative term, But the perception of what is familiar, of what seems orderly and structured and what we expect. So if we're stuck inside the box, everything will look the same. Everything will look as we expect it to look. But if we know the box and we can get outside of it, then we can start to see things for what they are. What is happening right now in your life that is not the routine, the habit, the predictable? What is the anomaly? What is happening right now in your life that, hey, that's a little different, that our mind kind of thinks that shouldn't be there. We're not looking to make sure everything's in place. We're looking for something that might be out of place, something that's there that shouldn't be there, right? Looking for that novelty. Down beneath everything, we have a 9 of Wands. This is your strength. This is your willpower. I feel like you're going in a direction in your life that it's kind of like, we want the novelty. We want to be aware that we're doing something important. We don't want to feel that we're in this routine and that life has just become that sort of routine. Again, we started with the Fool energy. So I feel like you're just kind of nodding your head saying, yep, Paul, that's it. That's right. Because I feel that you're already in that sort of Fool energy. You're already, and it's funny with the way I'm looking at the Fool. The Fool is like that, right, with the cards. So it looks like the Fool's sort of peeking outside of the box. And I feel like you're already in that energy. So I'm not telling you anything new, right? I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know, but you're already looking for what you don't know. And I feel that you've had some sort of, there's a lunar connection here. I feel like you've had some sort of a jarring experience in life recently. Something happened that kind of shook you out of your routine. And maybe it's been a conscious effort. We read Castaneda talking about we've got to sort of stalk our own habits, Habits are good, but if they're intentional habits, right, then they're good. So we have to be aware of, we have to sort of sneak up on our own unconscious habits so that they can be revealed to us and we can get outside the box and create the sort of habits we want, Because the mind will always find the habitual thought process and the habitual activities, behaviors. So we at least want to nudge that in the right direction. So I feel like you're on a journey of really intense spiritual work, self-discovery, and even like kind of intentional living, right? Intentional living. I feel like you're trying to create in yourself really good, healthy, productive, successful, magical habits, right? And to do that, we have to tap into those unconscious habits. See, that's why the sun and the moon are connected. What is unconscious has to be made conscious. Those habits of thought and perception and the way that they translate into behavior have to be brought into conscious awareness so that we can direct them in a healthy way toward the type of person we want to become, the type of life we want to live, and all of that sort of thing. And I feel like this is you doing that process. Okay. Now, behind everything, who is this fiery energy seems out of place, right? We've got, of course, they look the same in a way. I wonder if this is a sort of parental energy. This could be sort of a mom and dad energy for you. We've got the Queen of Wands back here. We've got the Emperor here. I almost wonder if you came from a family that was like very, very, I don't know, I want to say strict, but it feels like maybe the people who raised you, okay, I'm just going to say that. The way that you were raised was one of maybe routine, discipline, maybe somewhat strict. Maybe this is even sort of saying that you have like, you have some sort of a background in discipline, you know, like either, I don't know, maybe like martial arts, maybe even like military, where it's been sort of taught to us to have everything in sort of a routine, everything in sort of an expected way. But then you think of martial arts, or you think of military service, and if you are military, thank you for your service. It's not enough to just rely on the discipline and the routine. We need to be able to see outside the box. We need to be able to use intuition, right? Because once we fall into a routine, now correct me if I'm wrong, leave some comments, let me know what you think. If we fall into a routine and every day is just the same, then we're not going to notice those things that are out of place that might tell us intuitively or instinctually, something's up today, right? And then we're going to be caught off guard. Right? Then something's going to happen that I didn't even notice, you know, but until it happens anyway. So it keeps us in a state of almost slumber, you know, because we're not really fully conscious. So I wonder what that was in your life that sort of wanted the routine or instilled into you the value of routine and discipline and habit, you know. Which is very good. We all need discipline and habit and routine because the mind will find it. It will happen. And if we're not doing it consciously, it's going to happen behind the scenes, and it might not be what we really want, you know. So we're kind of talking about the conscious formation of habits. We've got a 3 of Pentacles at the top. And we know that it is work. See, the 3 is sort of, it's not the 4. It's something that kind of, it came before the routine, right? And this is us realizing that in order to create the routines we want, because we're going to eventually get the 4 again. We're going to upset ourselves. We're going to disturb our routines here with the 5s, but then we're going to get the 4 again, right? But really better yet, we're going to evolve our routines and our habits into a 6, which is, to me, an intentional habit, an intentional routine. That discipline now that is intentional, it's aimed at something higher that we are willing into being. Rather than going back to a 4, which to me a 4 is kind of like the baseline sort of routine that kind of maybe happens behind the scenes, and now we're just back in the box, right? So the 6 is kind of getting into that more evolved routine of habit and performance and behavior, but more importantly of thought and feeling, really. But the 3 of Pentacles, I think, is taking things back to basics. You know, trying to unwind your routines, trying to pick them apart to find out what it is that you're really doing. And a lot of the time, this is just self-awareness. That we're not necessarily changing anything yet. We're just trying to be aware of what we're doing. We be aware of the way we tie our shoes. take mental notes. Oh, okay, yeah, I see that I do this thing every single day. It's kind of the idea of, you drive home from work and you take the same route every day back home. It's always the same. It's very predictable which way you're going to turn, how fast you're going to go. The idea here is that once you notice that, then you can start to disrupt those routines. And it can be a very upsetting practice. Because you upset your routine, you take a different turn, and then it's kind of like, now you've got to be fully aware. You got to open your eyes all the way. Because now you have to take some other maneuvers to get back home. Otherwise, we could probably do it asleep or with our eyes closed. Don't try it. It's dangerous. Don't do that. But you get the picture. So you're someone that likes to figure out how things work. I feel like you're a very techie kind of person, right? Very tech savvy. I feel like you know how things work. Well, let's figure out how we work. Let's figure out what we can do in order to expand our awareness, to open up our consciousness a little bit, and to start directing our life in this very intentional way. I feel like intentional living is really your thing right now. And now in the future position, we've got that 5 of Cups. And I think this work at first is really going to upset us because, when you start observing yourself, it's kind of like, oh God, I can't believe I do that every time, every time I'm talking about a tarot card, I do the certain thing, I look a certain direction, I move my hands in a certain way, and it kind of makes us like, we cringe at ourselves a little bit because we notice our routines, like, oh man, I take the same route home every day from work. It leads initially to a kind of a sudden shock almost, or a sudden disappointment in ourselves. Because, man, I'm so predictable, My wife sometimes will finish my sentences. I'm like, that's really what I was going to say? Like, damn, But we need to go through that. We need to be aware. We need that kind of emotional arousal, let's say, that stimulation, that kind of shock that says, wow, yeah, that's what I've been doing. We need to have that emotional reaction because the emotional body is it's very close to that fundamental consciousness. It's not diluted with too much thinking or perception. The way you feel is like as real as it gets before the mind starts really doing its thing and putting it into order and finding a pattern and stuff, just that raw feeling of life. And that's sort of what the Fool is feeling too. And every moment is just sort of this raw feeling. And it's pleasant, unpleasant, whatever, but it's very pure. Right, very pure feeling. Now, let's talk about the path of the serpent here. And as we do this, I would like to ask for your subscription. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It is totally free. I know you knew I was going to say that, but it's true. All right, and it really does help out the channel, and I really do appreciate that. So, in all seriousness now, let's go to the general energy path of the serpent, Queen of Pentacles. This is you looking at the past. This is you looking back at your life and thinking, wow, yeah, I took that road home every single time. We're thinking about our old patterns, our old way of dealing with problems, of interacting with people, our own way of facing challenges, our own way of reacting to opportunities. And we're able to look back and see the road. We're able to see the path we took every single time. Okay? And that kind of comes as a shock. That's disturbing to see about your life, But awareness is the first step toward positive change. We've got to notice what's going on if we're going to do anything about it. Okay? So we have to learn from the past. We have to be able to see and we're not judging them right or wrong, good or bad. It's a raw feeling. It's going to make you feel some type of way, okay? But we're observing it so that we can distill the wisdom from that. And we can say, okay, if those routines got me here, where could I be in the future if I start having some intentional routines, if I do this conscious living sort of thing, and I build up these routines that are geared toward the certain outcome I want. Okay? Then we start getting some good ideas. Now we're able to take this energy that's looking at the past and apply it to the present. And that's what we're doing with the 5 of Pentacles. We're trying different things. We're thinking outside, we're peeking over the edge of the box. And this is so funny, the way the Fool is peeking over the box. And we're just doing something different. Tie your shoes a different way. Brush your teeth with a different hand. Try to write your name with your opposite hand. I'm left-handed, so I try to write with my right hand, and it looks like a 5-year-old. And I think that's pretty darn good. I'm making some progress here. So I like to do that. And of course, when I go to brush my teeth or I go to do anything, left hand. And you can see me on this channel sometimes. I try to hold the card in my right hand. And then I see myself on the monitor and I think, that looks awful. It doesn't look right. Over here, this looks better to me, right? But when I try to break my routine and break my habit, I feel something. It makes me consciously aware of where I am and what I'm doing, And that's kind of the Five of Pentacles, that we start with the behavior. We start doing things differently in our behaviors to just get us outside of that box. And then maybe it doesn't matter how you tie your shoes. Is that really a habit that you're trying to change or do consciously because it's leading to the outcome you want? What's the benefit of tying your shoes the other way? Save a fraction of a second twice a day? Not worth the effort. You're going to put in way more time training yourself to do it a different way. It's not going to have much return on the investment, okay? But we're using that as an example. I'm not trying to totally shift my life over to my right hand. I would like to be somewhat ambidextrous. I think there is a lot of neurological benefits to being a little bit more ambidextrous. I'm a drummer anyway, so I need to have limb independence, But that's not, my ultimate goal is not to be able to use my right hand for everything in case something happens to my left, But it's an effort in that awareness. It's an exercise that we do. Brushing your teeth with the other hand or putting on your shoes in a different order or something like that, right? And we can extend that out to the way we interact with people. Maybe the words we use. What are those habits of phrases, of speech that you use all the time? I've got mine. I know what mine are. Some of them I set up intentionally, consciously, because I find them to be powerful, We have to be aware of that. How do we usually react to other people? How do we react to the day, to the people around us, to the events of life, to nature, right? Our pets, our plants, our people. So we start changing little things and just doing the thing differently to bring us that kind of shock of self-consciousness. And then we can use this emperor in a very, very interesting way, that we can begin to consciously decide which new habits I want to use. Is there a different way that I could be presenting myself in speech? Different habits in my body language, different ways that I can live more intentionally and more consciously to create the reality that I want to live within. Okay? And that's the emperor, having that discipline, that routine, that structure, that order, to develop those habits that we really want to see. Okay, because there is a benefit to them. It's not something frivolous, I don't think any of it's really frivolous, but you got to think how much time you're putting into tying your shoes, and if that's really worth the effort, This is you deciding what is worth the effort because of this death card at the end. The death card is the slow and gradual change that takes place over time. Now, if you do this work and you may think, you wake up tomorrow and be like, today's exactly the same as it was yesterday. All that nonsense Paul was talking about didn't do anything. It takes a long time. They say it takes, 3 months to develop a habit, right? And even longer to take that habit and kind of relegate it to the unconscious, where you just tie your shoes and you don't even need to be paying attention. You can do it with your eyes closed. Try it. Try tying your shoes with your eyes closed while you're having a conversation with somebody. I bet you can do it. It's slow change, and that kind of lasting change, that fundamental sort of change, takes place over a lifetime, really. It takes a long time to establish these sorts of things. But I think the process itself, aside from what the benefits are long term, I think there's a benefit to it right now, because it takes you out of the routine of your perception, which is where we started the reading now 30 minutes ago. Finding the novelty in every moment, in every day. What is different about this moment than the last one? So we're always searching for that newness, because you are on the bleeding edge of consciousness. And to have this sort of, I think it's a spiritual experience, to have that sort of awareness and that sort of enlightenment takes work, right? And I think practicing on yourself, on your own routines and habits, we go from the behavior, and then we kind of start to get into the habits of our thought and our perception. Okay, so it really kind of starts to extend outward or inward, whatever you want to say. And we begin to perceive life in a new way. We begin to perceive every moment and every day in a new way, even if we're going to the same job 9 to 5 every day. Every one of those days is an adventure, is a novel experience, right? This is the first time this has ever happened, and the only time it ever will. So by practicing this sort of conscious awareness and self-consciousness and this sort of open perception, you're really making a huge change just in the way you live your daily life, regardless of what these new habits are going to produce in you down the road. Okay? Let's look at this mystery card. I know I've been talking a lot today. I want to see this maybe to be the kind of the benefit, the long-term benefits of this. So maybe we're going to get a 9 or a 10 of cups. Okay, more satisfaction, more meaning, a richer experience of life. Maybe it'll be a Tower card. Those are my 2 predictions. If you have yours, put it in the comments. Here we go. It's the Moon card. Interesting. The Moon card is exactly what I've been talking about the entire reading. Okay? I should ring the bell because it's perfect. This is the idea that the only moment we have is right now, this present moment. The future is always uncertain. The future is always in the process of being written. We are writing the story as we go. This is that dark doorway, the Moon card, right? It's the doorway, it's black. We cannot see what's on the other side of this moment until we get there. And yes, I know there's this idea of like it takes our brains a moment to process the information, and so really we're living in the past, the way that we see the stars, but they're thousands or millions of light years away, so we're seeing the star as it was in the past and all that sort of stuff. Notwithstanding, the only thing we can be certain of is sort of what we're experiencing right now, a very subjective way. The next moment is not certain. Now, I may be able to predict with a 99.9% certainty that the sun will rise at some point in the next 24 hours. But I'm not going to know for sure until I get there, until I see it, until it's evident to me that it has happened, So I feel like this is a confirmation that we are literally on the edge of the universe. We're at the edge of like light and darkness. That everything, every just nanosecond in front of us is black. It's not written. It does not exist until we make that happen. And that's a weird sort of conscious realization. That's a weird feeling when you perceive that. Not intellectually perceive it, but when you experience it. That we're always at the edge of the universe. And we're always sort of expanding outward. So this is really the confirmation that there are no 2 moments that are ever alike. But it's up to us to be consciously aware and get outside the construct of our own mind and our perception to see that this is that magical moment. This has never happened before in the history of the universe, and it will never happen again. Anyway, we're going to do an extended reading. If you want to stick around, there's a link up top. There's one down below. New readings for Aquarius, Thursdays and Sundays. Be sure to watch both readings. Okay. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do, because it is totally free. Leave a comment. Let me know where in the world you're watching from. Yeah. I want you to know that you're the most important part of Dove and Serpent Tarot. I thank you and I love you. And we're all in this together.